Can you see that? That's a 3. That means that this is the third video in the whole installment of my Q&A thing I'm doing with myself. I'd much rather prefer other people's questions for a Q&A because then I wouldn't feel like I'm talking to myself. I mean, I've talked to myself for a number of years, and people have called me crazy, and then I took some pills and got some therapy, and everything worked out for the best. But all in all, I still think it would be safer to answer, anybody else's questions and get you involved in the discussion because we're a community of wrestling fans. It's not just the ones that make the videos that have the opinions. And I've always felt that way, even before I started making videos. Before I ever had a camera, I was always that guy that was commenting the shit out of videos, just really trying to get my opinion out there and seeing who would agree with me. And I've always had a lot of people both ends of the fence with me because some just couldn't see where I was coming from or thought that, I was just like being a typical mark and didn't appreciate, like somebody's hard work. And a lot of the time, though, people would be on my side too, and they'd say, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I see how that would make sense or be a good story or whatever. So it's all about the interaction between the people making the videos and the people commenting on the videos. And I think that all of us as a community in general, really need to come together to help support the wrestling business and the product right now anyway, because these people that are doing, making the product and believing in the product and participating in the product, the wrestlers themselves, they really need to know what, we feel and what our experience is and what we would buy and what we don't want to see and all that stuff. It's really important, and it keeps the dialogue fresh. It keeps everything going. So back to wherever the hell we were in video 2, I was just getting into Christian being a really upstanding guy, and along with that goes his buddy Edge, and those two, I was definitely there. I was definitely a wrestling fan at the time when those two broke into the business together, and it's been the hell of a ride ever since. They debuted back in the Attitude Era, and it was pretty cool. So, like, if you really haven't seen any of that old, the first break-in of the Brood and what happened in the aftermath and when Edge and Christian were first tag team champions and, over the years as they grew, if you missed out on a lot of that stuff, just YouTube it, man. Like, it's out there to be seen. They're really, like, they're excellent performers, and they're very talented. And they're two of my favorite performers. I don't know, they don't make my top 10 list of all time per se, but they're up there, and I really respect them. And I think that anybody that wouldn't respect two hard workers like that probably should have their tongue cut out and never be allowed to have an opinion again. So that's just all I have to say about that. Let's get back to guys that I think the WWE should focus on and push. We just talked about Miz, we talked about A-Rai, we talked about Sheamus. Even I mentioned him having a feud with Wade Barrett, perhaps, to elevate the both of them. And I believe that. I think that Wade Barrett is a guy that could carry, the torch, and you could pass that belt to him, and he could bring dignity to it. When Wade Barrett was first, forced down our throat before the whole Nexus thing, he was a protege of Chris Jericho. And I think that really is important too, because Jericho is such a big legend and a big name in this business and has so many fans. And Jericho came in at a really good time, like right when the Attitude Era was getting good. He was all there. And he left WCW, he went to WWE, and he got an amazingly huge pop in the middle of Rock's promo, which was like, wow, this is fucking refreshing. And it's like all these guys knew who he was. And I marked out when I saw that. Like, I can't lie, because Jericho has always been one of my favorite people. I think that he is one of those people that's just God on the microphone as well. But Wade Barrett being associated with him was really important because to me, it showed me that Jericho chose this guy. It's not like they just said, here, go out there and hype him up. Like, I think he actually said, that's the guy that I want to work with, and I want to give the rub to a little bit. So I believe that Barrett can handle that, and I think that this whole Intercontinental push that he had with, fighting Zeke and dropping the title should have elevated him to a main eventer, contention thus far. I think that we're really kind of, I don't want to see him stuck in mid-card hell forever. He's got the size, he's got the look. Just go with it already, give him the chance. I'm over here burping up this Poland Spring water all day, stomach acid like crazy. I don't know if anybody else is suffering from that right now, but man, like, oh, I don't know. It's just been bad lately. More people that I want to see in the main event picture in WWE. I can't wait until Cody Rhodes finally makes that transition. And I don't want them to rush it. Please do not take that IC strap off of him anytime soon. Keep him how he's going. The whole gimmick where he was dashing Cody Rhodes, and then, you know, the whole thing with the face mask and Rey Mysterio, and how they still, you know, how Cole still brings that up every match. Keep all of that the same, because you're doing a fantastic job with that. And I don't want to see them ruin it or end it too soon, or, you know, throw Cody Rhodes out there and have him get squashed by, you know, Mark Henry or something, because that would be terrible. You don't want that. Granted, Cody Rhodes is a heel, and Mark Henry's a heel, and they don't typically have two bad guys, you know, go at each other, even though I think at some point it needs to happen. But the storytelling, at least of the two heels going at it, that would be cool. So yeah, so basically Cody Rhodes is another guy, though, that I think you can put in that main event scene, you know, like maybe within the next year and a half, and he can definitely fill those shoes. I'm trying to do this real quick off the top of my head, but, you know, it requires a little bit of research for me, because just, you know, I'm getting old, and, you know, the noggin took a few too many chair shots. I just forget who's really on the roster. I don't really pay attention all that much, to be honest with you. So let's try to get another question here. Maybe we can make this one a little bit not wrestling. Like, what are some activities or some things that I enjoy personally? I'm really into pizza. I'm really into hanging out with the guys. I personally have had the same group of friends since we started, you know, middle school, high school together. And they're like brothers to me. You know, there's like 4 or 5 of them, and, you know, we don't even knock when we go into each other's houses. We just, you know, show up, and there we are. We're family. I like hanging out with them, obviously. I like to read. I mentioned that before, like in the very beginning. But I really, like, it's something I honest to God enjoy. And a couple of books that I would recommend if anybody's into fantasy fiction would be George R.R. Martin has a series called A Song of Ice and Fire. And the book 1 started with a Game of Thrones, and they made an HBO whole production out of it this last season. And it's been pretty epic so far. You know, they rush the story a lot, though, on TV, so it's very important that you always pick up a book and read it and formulate your own opinion, you know. But there's definitely nudity on the show, so anybody that likes tits, like, go for it, dude. They're all over the place. I mean, there's like tits on top of tits with tits in the middle. It's like a tit sandwich. It's like tits with tits and some more tits and maybe a little mayonnaise or wine in the middle, give it some flavor. But wow. If you're a J.R.R. Tolkien fan like me, then The Lord of the Rings is the most important story ever written to you. And to me, it really is. And I have probably listened. I used to have the books on tape back when I was younger, and I used to listen to them every night to go to bed. That's just how I would relax myself. I would, you know, fall asleep in Middle Earth, thinking about elves and dwarves and cool stuff and rings of power, and just, you know, it's awesome. Things I enjoy are a nice old school Dungeons and Dragons game. Yeah, you heard me. Pencil and paper time. Not this 4.0 game that Wizards of the Coast put out. I'm talking like back Dungeons and Dragons like 3.0, or even this Pathfinder game. I'm not sure who really makes it. I think it's Paizo or somebody, but amazing game, and it helps stimulate your imagination. Alright, so I'm going to cut to part 4 right here, and hopefully that'll wrap up this whole epic saga of videos. Thank you for staying with me this far, and I'll see you in however long it takes you to download the next one.